Stephanie Dobson is back with us again this week. Stephanie is a lawyer, mediator, and online educator with Hankin Divorce Law and Mediation offices in Lloydminster and Edmonton. Stephanie, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks again, Stacey, as always.
Well, this week, Stephanie, we're tackling a very interesting subject, and that is the best interests of children when it comes to separation and divorce. And obviously, I know you're a big proponent of making sure that children are always taken care of no matter what. So let's talk about exactly what does that mean when we say the best interests of children?
Well, Stacey, I'm really glad to hear that that's a very common, well-known, that's what I focus on when I help parents. So thanks very much for that boost of confidence. So the best interest of the children is a phrase, so I put it in quotes. It's a standard guiding principle in family law, particularly, of course, in parenting and divorce cases. So by focusing on these aspects, parents and courts can make decisions then that truly prioritize the well-being and interests of the children involved. So there's some key aspects of this concept, and there's some terms within the Divorce Act, but I wanted to give a bit of a general overview here. So one
Sure.
would be the emotional stability of the parent, of the children. So prioritizing their well-being and ensuring that they're in a stable and nurturing environment. Parental involvement. So we want to make sure that both parents are as involved as much as possible in the children's lives. Continuity. We've talked a lot about when we talk about building parenting plans. We've talked about maintaining consistency and stability and routine for the children. So that's what that one's about. Safety of the children. So of course we're looking at protecting the kids from any physical or emotional harm. Of course, domestic violence and substance abuse is another thing we're trying to protect them from. The child's preferences. So of course that's going to be age and maturity dependent, considering the child's wishes with respect to living arrangements. We've got health and welfare, addressing any physical, mental, or emotional needs in the parenting arrangements. We're going to be talking about this more next week, but cultural and religious considerations. So of course, considering the background, the ethnic background in making arrangements for the kids. We've got two more, financial stability, so making sure that the kids are financially taken care of, and then of course, future relationships, so making sure that relationships with extended family and extended siblings and new relationship families are prioritized.
So how can parents actually prioritize the best interests of children, Stephanie? Like you said, it is one thing to definitely talk about it, but to actually do it is something different, right?
Yeah, so it requires some careful consideration and actually putting into place some intentional actions. So it's not just something that just happens by nature by being a bystander. You really have to do something actively to do that. So what we're looking for is to provide a loving and stable environment where children can thrive, even though they're in a challenging family dynamic situation. So what we want to do is to promote healthier relationships and healthy co-parenting arrangements. So let's look at some effective strategies, or some strategies that I hope are going to be effective for children. So one of the things that we can do is by fostering open communication, so having some open and honest discussions, and toing and froing, so allowing the kids to ask questions and when they're ready to ask questions, and then also engaging in some open communication, open dialogue from the parents' perspective. Cooperative co-parenting, of course, that goes without saying. We've talked a lot about that in our parenting plan creation. Maintaining routine, so stability, routine, and consistency. We just talked about that. Creating a safe environment. Also, children-centric decision-making. So again, age-appropriate wise, we want to make some decisions that has the kids feeling valued, respected, and involved as much as is appropriate. Avoiding conflicts in front of the kids. Providing emotional support for the children. That might be your own emotional support. That might be emotional support from a professional. Focusing on financial stability. So making sure that as you're making decisions within that parenting plan, that you're making sure that there's financial stability for the children, and then keeping an eye on those future relationships.
So is there legislation, or how does legislation, Stephanie, address the best interest of children?
Yeah, so there's a new Divorce Act, new-ish, I should say, Divorce Act that has a list of factors to look at when the courts look at what's called the best interest of the children. So some of the list is what we've already looked at, so I won't repeat those items, but it is a list, and you can find it within the Divorce Act. And these are the kind of things that when you go talk to a lawyer or a mediator, they are going to be looking at these specific things to make sure that the best interests of the children are taken care of. So it's a lot of what we've we've already talked about, but there's this list of 11 items in no particular order of priority, but there's one paramount item that I really want to focus on. It's the safety, security, and well-being of the children is paramount above all else.
All right, Stephanie. Well, thank you so much for chatting. And as you said, we'll kind of get into some of the other things we discussed next week as well, and we'll be back to chat with you then.
Thanks, Stacey.